Good evening, everyone. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. My name is Douglas Lawson. I'm the commissioner here in the city of Rivera Beach, and we're talking about mental health in the minority community. Our goal is to focus on an epidemic that we've struggled with for a number of years. And as a community, we want to help together. So my initiative for the city has been to focus on mental health in our community. It's something that's underutilized, underappreciated, underserviced. So we're bringing together a team of certified, qualified individuals to speak to us within the community. Me, I'm not the professional in this field. I have my own issues. But what I do is I bring the right people to the table that can actually speak to you and to discuss the concerns and the issues to help us. I actually have my couch time with this young lady as well. So I want to go ahead and introduce Ms. Issa Allen. If you guys can give her a round of applause, please.
I'm gonna stay here, guys, because I'm getting over a really bad cold, so I don't want to be sharing mics with anyone, so I'm just gonna be here talking from this mic. But I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. The crowd is amazing, and I appreciate everyone taking time out to come here tonight. First things first, some house rules. So we've said that in the newsletter that we had 2 prizes for 2 lucky contestants, or 2 lucky people that are coming here tonight. The first one, it'll be $100 for someone here, and we're gonna pick it according to the chair that you're sitting in, and it's already kind of pinpoint. And that $100 is sponsored by Dr. Martine and her company VIP Integrated Healthcare. Okay, so thank you, Dr. Martine, for that. The second prize will be a free 4 sessions with me for 1 hour a week, and that is totally complimentary from me, myself. And then I will get with the winner and we can do it on live. I can come to where you are, or you can meet me wherever I am. So 2 lucky winners, one for 4 free sessions of counseling and $100 for 2 people. Another thing, if you can make sure that you signed outside and put your email, because we do have some additional information to give to you guys after the event, and everything that's happened here today, we're gonna email you guys a kind of pamphlet of what's going on tonight. So I kind of want to start with, I hate standing here, but I want to start with thanking everyone for coming out, and just kind of, before we start the program, to kind of reiterate mental health and the stigma that is attached to mental health. Mental health, just the term mental health, it just gets everyone, they don't want to talk about it. We talk about physical health, and everyone is okay to say, so let me ask a question. Who here has mental health? Okay. Who here has physical health? Okay. So everybody raised their hand when you talk about physical health. It's a normal thing to talk about. We get sick, we go to the doctor, and it's something that is kind of the normalcy of what we are. But when we talk about mental health, it's something that we shun away from. And just the term mental just gets everyone shaking their boots, and they don't want to talk about it. It's a bad thing. It's for crazies. It's for people with illness, but it's just the total opposite. Mental health is simply the way your mind, your well-being of your mind, and how you react to stress, how you react to certain situations, your social well-being, the way you communicate with people, whatever it is, how you deal with things mentally, that is your mental health. Now, life happens to people. Life happens to every one of us here, whether it be cancer, whether it be a death in the family, a death of a child, whether it be homelessness, whether it be unemployment, whether it be low income, living check to check. We all have an issue, we all have a story. When we don't have the tools and techniques to deal with our stressors in life, excuse me, when we don't have the tools, techniques, and skills to deal with stresses in life, then that's when our mental state becomes tampered with. And if you continuously deal with stresses without learning how to cope with them, that's when an illness or a disease or like depression comes on. or anxiety. And sometimes we don't even know we're in a depression. Sometimes we don't even know why we're feeling the way we're doing. We get these anxious feelings towards certain situations, but we don't know where it's coming from. It could be stemming from an abuse we had in the past, whether it be sexual abuse, whether it be physical abuse, whether it be traumas that were brought on from our parents. And now we're portraying them as adults, because traumatized children becomes traumatized adults. Okay? And then we get into relationships and we bring those two components without being healed or processing what we've gone through properly. And then we create a family, and then that trickles down into what we call the cycle. Excuse me again. So, on that topic, I just want everyone to know, and I just want to normalize. My goal is to normalize mental health. It is okay to say, I have a mental health issue and I need to seek help when needed. And that's the kind of thing I want everyone to leave here with, is just the normalizing mental health, and to stop and to break in the stigma of mental health. We joke around and say, oh, they're crazy, or, they got issues. Well, we all have issues at one point in life. We just don't say them as often as someone who just can't cope with it and just expresses it normally. So, with that said, we have
One of those
he wants to
things
interject.
that we actually address, especially within our community, is within the black community, minority community, is we try to just pray it away. And we always say we're just going to pray it away. We'll put hands on them, we'll pray for them, we'll send them to our bishop. But at the same time, you can also have prayer, but you also have to put the work in. Faith without works is dead. So you have to understand that the same work that you're praying is you also have to put work in, to sit down with a therapist, to sit down with a counselor, to sit down with somebody that can kind of give you some insight. With that being said, we try to intertwine and incorporate the two. So I wanted to introduce our past sitting mayor of the last 12 years, Bishop
Yes.
Thomas Masters. If you guys give him a round of applause, please. He's actually going to open up with prayer for us, and he also has just a quick presentation as well.
Shall we stand? And since this is the season of love and unity and peace, I would ask that you would hold hands to the person next to you, if you don't mind. Our Father, we thank you for this moment and time. We thank you for the many blessings that you have already showered upon us. We thank you for leading and guiding us, protecting and providing for us. And Father, we ask that you would continue to hold our hands and guide our feet as we run this race. We ask that you would bless the facilitators of this movement in our city that's finally addressing mental health issues, that young men and young women and others will be made whole, that their mind will go to a whole nother level, and for they can realize that they are made and we are made in your image and likeness, that you will empower us, that we can stand in whatever issues that we may have, that we know that faith and works together can make the difference. In your name we pray, and the people who have gathered in this chamber said,
Amen.
Amen. You may be seated.
Amen. Thank you for that.
I want to extend greetings from you. Many have asked, Mr. Bishop, Mr. Mayor, what are you doing? Where are you? Well, I was appointed the International Ambassador for the World Conference of Mayors. It's causing me to travel around the world to speak to mayors of the United States and Africa and Europe and Philippines and all over. Recently, I was in Hawaii. One of the things that's on the hearts and minds of mayors all over is climate change. That's number one. Number two issue is the issue of mental health issues and challenges that mayors are beginning to understand. That's the cause of a lot of things, crime and everything else, and abuse, and the list goes on and on. You hear that tonight. But while in Hawaii, I got this gift that I want to present to a young lady who is responsible for these type of workshops, challenging us to do something about it. Say something, do something about it. And if it wasn't for this lady, none of us would probably be here tonight, who continues to bring facilitators together that we can address these issues. I thank God for my good friend Douglas Lawson, who is doing a phenomenal job on all fronts. Give Doug a hand. So as I go back to my seat, and we discussed this with several mayors about mental health, and you're going to be hearing more about it from mayors around the world and the United States. But I wanted to be the first to crown this lady the queen of Riviera Beach as it relates to this issue and what she is doing. So Ms. Isa Allen, here you are. There you go. Thank you.
I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you, Bishop Masters, because every time I've come to you when you were mayor and I've asked you for help, without a doubt, you've always been there to help me and offer whatever services that you had to your disposal without any hesitation, and I thank you for that.
Bishop Masters kind of laid a foundation for our new council to come in. We have our sitting mayor, which is Mayor Ronnie Felder, and our sitting council. We had a new council come in. So a direction that we took with the city was to change the approach, was to kind of get deep-rooted into the community and work on things that haven't been addressed within our city. Nonprofit organizations and establishing nonprofits, talking about mental health within the community. These are things that we really want to address. We just had a networking brunch this past Sunday where we introduced all of our department heads to the residents. It was a free brunch. And we also just kick-started our program. It's 30 every 30. It's a mentoring program that we're going to kickstart from the city, the Councilman Douglas Lawson's office and the city council to actually allow for each individual to be able to mentor to the youth in the different schools. So what we're asking is just give 30 minutes every 30 days. 30 every 30 is all we're asking for. So all the free events that we're hosting, the only commitment we're asking from you is to give us 30 minutes of your time every month. Because there's kids that grew up that don't see what success look like, that doesn't see what the benefits of kind of continuing to live look like, to speak into them, to preach into them, to pour into them. So we need you guys to continue to help each other. So while we're helping you with this, we need you to also reach back and help them as well, okay?
I also want to extend a thank you to Douglas, who I call Alex, and also saying, too, when I first started, we always talked about anti-gun violence, or we talk about anti-violence, or we had all these other issues that we're tackling. But you cannot talk about all these other issues that we're dealing with within the city without talking about mental health, because that's where it stems from. And it pours into all these other, directions to where we're trying to go. But I thank him for bringing that opportunity for us to do the mental health component, because that's something that's truly missing in this community. So thank you for that. So I'd like to begin the program. We have a great program tonight. I'm really excited about it. And I want to bring on Dr. Martine first, and she can introduce herself. The mic, give her a mic. She's going to be my co-host for tonight. In past events that we've had, a lot of people talked about or asked questions about medication management. So tonight she's going to be here available and willing to answer any questions that you guys may have pertaining to medication management, to whatever disorders or issues that you may be dealing with or have been prescribed.
And this is going to be a safe place, so we want to just have open conversation, open dialogue. So we're going to allow for everybody to ask the questions that are necessary, because we have a room full of therapists in here that are going to be able to speak to you. We're going to speak one-on-one, and we can also be open as a group discussion as well. So as we continue through the presentation, if you have any questions, concerns, we'll take them at any time today, okay?
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Everyone looks so beautiful and so nice, ready for this forum. I'm excited to be here. I want to say thank you, Councilman Lawson and Ms. Isa, for having me. Thank you for Black nurse practitioners for supporting me tonight, my best friend, Ludney Neska, and everyone else that I've invited. Mr. Taj, my client, thank you so much. My name is Dr. Martine Sonatas. I am a board-certified psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner and a family nurse practitioner. So I started off my career in nursing. I worked in several hospitals doing care on the units, and I decided to go back to school to provide primary care. So I went to school. I started working in the underserved areas such as Belglade And I then transitioned. I was actually supposed to open up a facility in Riviera Beach, but it wasn't ready, so I started in Glade and then transitioned to Riviera Beach. And then I moved to Port St. Lucie area, and I got into psychiatric mental health with the elderly population. I decided it was time for me to go back to school, so I pursued my doctorate in psychiatric mental health, and I am here. While I was in school, I fell in love with the population of substance abuse and addiction. I realized that there was so much stigma when it comes to the care associated with taking care of people who were going through trauma, who were addicted on heroin, opiates, marijuana, crack, cocaine. People don't want to deal with those type of people because there's so many issues, but they don't take the time to understand what really is happening in the mind and the brain to be able to help them, to be able to reach out to them. So while I was in school, I had this novel idea to start my own practice. So I did that. I opened my own practice in July. I'm currently practicing in PGA Boulevard. I also do telemedicine. I also have an office where I sublease out in Royal Palm Beach. So if you live in that area, you can reach me there. And like I said, I also do telemedicine, so you don't really have to leave your home. You can just be on your phone or computer. I can do your session that way. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm looking for this forum. If you have any questions, by all means, please ask your questions. I will be able to answer. Okay? And I also speak Creole. I am Haitian. So, si nou gen question en Creole, m'ka answer li. Okay?
Okay, thank you. So we're going to start the program with human trafficking, and I want to first invite Jeremiah up, and Jeremiah is going to speak on a personal event that he's experienced actually just recently in Palm Beach County. I invited Jeremiah because a lot of people, when we talk about human trafficking, we tend to leave the boys out of the equation and think that it's something that's just happening to females. And he's going to speak on his experiences and any tips that he can give to kind of help anyone else out in the future.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank, first off, I want to thank Ms. Issa, Councilman Lawson, for having me on this Tuesday. First off, by show of hands, how many females have you or have any of you, like your close loved ones, experienced a human traffic or a close call, kind of, show of hands? None. Kind of expecting. I guess I want to first start off by explaining my personal event, and I'll later explain how to prevent future events like this or other things like that. First mistake I made was going to a park by myself late at night because, like I said, I really don't think about things that can happen to me as a man. So it was around midnight. I was sitting in my car, and I noticed another car parked right beside me. I was on my phone at the time. I was just waiting on my friend for plans, just not even paying attention. It was a man getting out of his car, and I seen him. But like I said, I didn't think anything of it. In my peripheral vision, I seen him coming to the right of my car. And I seen him have something in his hand. Just like a jacket I'm wearing right now, he has something in his hand like this. So I'm looking at him hard, and he pulls it out, it's a taser. So first thing I do is back up my car. He sees me do that, and he runs towards my door and tries to unlock it. If my door wasn't locked, he could have gotten in. So as I'm backing up, he's actually hanging onto the handle. He kind of messed up the other car. So it's kind of like broken. As I back up, I noticed he wasn't the driver of the car. It was more than it had to be at least 3 people. I seen two extra figures in the car. As I back up, I get away, but I noticed they're starting to trail me. So I went and drove like an extra 15, 20 minutes, cut corners left and right just to make sure I wasn't being followed when I was going home. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna move on to. It was around my house. It was in, the park is it's on Malaluka Military, it's in Green Acres. It's like a neighborhood park. It has a basketball court. I think it's called Gladiator Park, but I don't think it's a big park that you can just look up and you'll see. Another question. Did you call the police after that? I didn't really call the police because I didn't really have much information to give them. And I knew that even if I called the police, they might patrol the area, but the people that tried to run down on me probably knew that already. So they were gonna stay away from there. Another question.
What was going through your mind when it happened?
A lot. I seen the taser. I panicked because you can't really fight off a taser. That's incapacitation right there. And I don't want to think about where I would even be if my door was unlocked. I could be out some random place in a cave. I don't know. I don't know where they bring people. But not really much besides getting out as soon as I can was going through my mind at the moment. After the fact, it was way more than I could really handle. When it all happened, I called my close friend, Key Repairs. Called him first, and after him, I called my parents right there, sitting there. I called them and came home and told them everything that happened. But I was walking through my door and I couldn't even get the keys in the door. I was kind of a nervous wreck. It was a lot of things, but what I'm here for and what I want to get through to you guys is how to prevent things like these from happening. Or if this does happen and you have a close call with yourself or somebody you love, how to deal with it in the future. Like I said, I wasn't paying attention at first. I wasn't on high alert because, you know what I mean, I go to that park all the time. I be there every other day. I don't have like a set schedule, so I don't expect much. But to all the gentlemen that's here with us, take it from me, it always can happen to grown men. Like I said, always be aware of your surroundings. Don't go by yourself at night anywhere. Especially at later, like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, late in the mornings. Have a weapon on you. I did not. So if they did open my door, I really didn't have any way of fighting off these people. That's pretty much it. Be on high alert. Keep your guard up. I want to move on to mental health. This is what this is all about. Like I said, I was kind of shaking for like 1 or 2 days. When it all happened, I couldn't really sleep. I went to sleep at like 4 o'clock. I had to watch myself videos until I just passed out. In the mornings, I felt like I couldn't even have my eyes all the way open. I went to work. My work shifts was 4 to 12, so I was dead pretty much. I couldn't really, I wouldn't say share the experience, but I just didn't know how, besides people that I know or my close ones. My mom suggested I see a therapist, but I didn't really think I needed one. I don't think I do now. I think I'm okay. But it was a lot to deal with. The next day I made a video explaining my experiences and how people could, you know, take stuff from it. But I felt like I did that for the better. I didn't know how I felt before posting the video and making it, but it got a good impact on the community. I felt like I shook Palm Beach in a good way. So I'm glad I did it. I think that's one of the better decisions I ever made in my life. But I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I just want to leave the message that gentlemen, it can happen to you. Ladies, you already know. Like I said, keep your guard up, and that's it.
Well, for one, I'm glad that you made it through that ordeal in a safe manner, because anything could have went left. And, with your quick thinking, you made it out safely. And thank you for sharing your story to help someone else to understand it's real. Like, a lot of people didn't raise their hand when they said if they knew someone, but girls are missing every day. Boys are missing every day. There's unexplained cases as to where these children are. It's like you have to keep a good grip on your children, their whereabouts, because they're taking we think it's not our kids. It doesn't happen to us, but, it's a sad reality of what is. And the percentages of it happening is increasing daily. So I really appreciate what you sharing your story, and I would agree and concur with Mom that maybe you should still go talk to someone, because you may not think that you're okay now because maybe time has passed to maybe help you calm down, but you don't know the after effects of what it may cause on you, whether it be PTSD, whether it be any kind of traumatic effects I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying talk to someone, just kind of get it out and process it properly. Because when we process these things in a better manner, then that's when we're better able to heal and grow from it. Okay, so thank you so much for that. So my next guest, I would call on Miss Jessica. She is an expert in human trafficking and a abuse expert and human trafficking expert. So she's going to give us some tools and tips and education on this topic.
How y'all doing? Can we stand and give that young man another round of applause, please? Let's just stand for him. Yeah, let's do that. Thank you. Thank you so much. And a round of applause for Ms. Allen and Commissioner Douglas, please, please. I'm so grateful to be here today. I thank my mom, my cousin, my family that came to support me in speaking about this. What he just spoke about is so prevalent in today, and I commend you, young Black King. I commend you for what you're doing, because you're bringing such insight to what is happening. It's a hidden crime. How many people like the holidays? How many people like the holidays? Raise your hand. All right. How many people like Thanksgiving over Christmas? Not that many? Oh, man. Y'all just trying to get some presents. Okay. Well, I want to tell you guys a story about surrounding Thanksgiving. I am a sexual abuse and human trafficking expert, and I like to call attention to sexual abuse and human trafficking because there's a direct intersection of sexual abuse towards human trafficking. 90% of children who are commercially trafficked have been sexually abused in the past. So there's a young lady, we're gonna call her Jamie. Jamie was from a two-parent household, a God-fearing family. She had everything you can imagine. She was 14 years old. And on Thanksgiving Day, it was such a beautiful, crisp day. She was spending time with her family. And when everybody was getting ready to leave, Jamie was helping her parents, her aunt and her mother, clean up. So her mother asked her to take something outside, and she did. But after she took the item outside, she bent over in the car, and she felt someone behind her. She didn't only feel someone behind her, but she felt his private areas behind her, pressing up against her. He proceeded to caress and molest her. And after he was done, he said, "Thank you," and gave her $5. And so after that day, Jamie went in the car and said she would never tell anyone. She took a long shower to get the filth off of her. She could no longer smell the scent of alcohol because the alcohol was on the breath of the perpetrator. Later, she told, and investigators came to her aid, and they asked her what happened, and she proceeded to tell what took place. And the investigation took charge. But Jamie would later deal with mental health, suicide issues, depression, eating disorders because of what took place in her life. Jamie was sexually exploited. Sexual exploitation of children is a range of crimes of sexual events with a minor for exchange for something of value. Commercial sexual acts are trafficking, sex trafficking of children, child pornography, cyber exploitation, forced marriage, and among many other things, for exchange of something of value such as shelter, food, clothing, or money. This is what sex trafficking looks like. So why is it so prevalent? Well, this industry is a $150 billion industry. So that means that there's revenue coming in, and there's a profit to be made. Out of that $150 billion, 99 billion of those dollars are from sexual exploitation. So there is a demand. How many people like economics in school? I didn't. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I hate it. But what I've learned with this trafficking is that where there's a demand, we need supply. So guess what? There's buyers that drive the force of sexual trafficking. The buyers constitute and motivate human sex trafficking because they want supply. The supply is the labels, which are children. They are considered product, and they are considered to make profit. They are labeled and branded just like cattle. Think about that for a minute. Just like cattle. With that being said, they are the victims of this crime. Traffickers can be businessmen. Traffickers and buyers can be businessmen. They can be law enforcement. They could be your neighbor, parents. There is no limit when it comes to buyers and traffickers. So who are the victims? The victims are boys and girls who are subjected to sex trafficking through manipulation, force, and coercion. Some of them are tricked, some of them are deceived, because there is a means that need to be met, and that is the product to be sold, which are the children. The average entry age into sex trafficking is 12 to 14 years old for girls and young men. 14% of these victims are trafficked through peers. And there is a 1 in 3 chance that once a child runs away from a home in foster care, in 48 hours, they will be human trafficked. So why am I talking about this? It's because it's right here in Palm Beach County. Florida is one of the top 3 states where human trafficking takes place. It's all around us. Anybody have kids? What's the name of your kid? Don't say it out loud. Just think about the child's name. Got it? That child could be a victim of sexual exploitation. I'm not putting that on your child, but this is why we have to start the conversation. We have to talk about this. This is something that we have to tell our children about. It starts at home. Many people do not talk about this because we don't even want to talk about sex, but let me tell y'all something. These kids know all about it. They already know. It starts at home by telling them what the private areas are, teaching them healthy boundaries and unhealthy boundaries. This is what we have to do as a community, because they're taking our minority children. Think about it. In the school system, their peers are coercing them into being trafficked. There's a story of a young girl, I will call her Jay. Jay was trafficked by her friends when they took her to a party, and she took some drugs, and when she woke up, she was chained to a fence. She woke up and she said, well, where are my friends? And the guy, he said, you're never going home. And he meant it. So they proceeded to sexually assault her every day. She said she was never allowed to take a bath. She just had a little sink that she had to clean herself up in. She couldn't run, she couldn't hide. And when they were done with her, she had contracted STDs, she had become pregnant, and she had many mutilated body parts because they were beating her. There's so many components to trafficking. So you remember Jamie? Y'all remember me talking about Jamie? Yeah. Well, Jamie grew up, and she made it out. She became a survivor. See, the thing about Jamie was when she was sexually abused, when her body felt like it was only worth $5, she said she never wanted another child to feel that way. So I come to you today to let you know that Jamie is doing well. She became a protective investigator, turned mental health counselor, and now she's standing before you today.
And we can stand for her and give her a round of applause as well.
I say that to say, never give up. Talk to your children. My mom, she talked to me. But the thing about the vulnerability with kids is Jamie was at the right place around the wrong person. It wasn't her fault. And some of these children don't have a two-parent household to go to. Some of them are foster kids and they don't have any hope. So their vulnerability is that they're looking for love in all the wrong places. And so when a man or a woman comes by and give them promises of shelter or promises that they will take care of them, they believe it. I'm learning that when a family function isn't fully together, when the men aren't at the head of the household, if they're not there mentally, emotionally, and physically, it changes the trajectory of how the family will function. Men, we need y'all. Dads, we need y'all. Brothers, we need y'all to step up. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. A round of applause for her one more time, please, guys. I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions pertaining to human trafficking, if they would ask those questions now before we move into our next topic.
I don't have a question, but I do want to say that I am a journalist and I'm fascinated by your story. And if you don't mind, before you leave, if you could give me your information, because I think it's a story that is rarely told.
Yeah.
And I tell so many people's stories in the newspaper, but I think sharing your story throughout the Tri-County area would be great if you wouldn't mind us discussing that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kebra Paris, and I just wanted to ask you, like, how severe has human trafficking been, or how much has it risen, like, in the past couple of years?
This is such an underrated and reported crime. I know this year alone, there's only been 41,000 reports of human trafficking alone. So because of all the things that are going on, you guys have seen the Epstein case and things like that, they're bringing more awareness to it. However, it has always been here, but it's been hidden so long because there's so many people in high power that have been doing this thing of trafficking and been, buying and selling these young children so much that now that there's light being shed on it, now everybody's becoming aware of it. So we don't really know how severe it's been, but I can tell you some of the cases I worked as an investigator have been detrimental, very detrimental, where some children don't even live to see the next day. Yeah.
First, I want to commend you for standing before us and telling your story. Do you have any statistics on the Palm Beach County area in regards to sex trafficking?
Because I just moved back here, I don't right now. However, I can get those to you. I do know there's a lot. I know that Broward County is the top right now, then Miami, and then Palm Beach County. Yes.
If we suspect a case of abuse, is it Children Protective Services? How do we report?
So you will report. Did anybody get this paper here? Below I put the Department of Children and Families Abuse Hotline. If you suspect that there's some child or someone being trafficked, you will call Department of Children and Families. The hotline number is here. And for the people who will watch this, I'm going to read it. 800-962-2873. And then we have the national hotline number for human trafficking as well. Please give them a call. And some of the signs you can see, if you are an educator, please pay attention to your students because there's such a drastic change that happens to your students as your educator, where you see them coming home or they're soiling their clothes at school, or they're coming to school with shabby clothes. You see some type of black eyes or things like that. I know the young lady, Jay, that I was talking about, she was subjected to trafficking and she got branded. Branding is when they tattoo the pimp's name on the child. And so she got branded on her eyelids. They branded her because their whole thing is they want to humiliate you. And they want you to know that you don't no longer have control of your own body. It's just their product. You belong to them. And so I say, look at the warning signs. I put a few here: depression, eating disorders, things like that. There's so much to it. Also, is it okay if I share the webinar?
Of course. Of course.
So pretty much what I do is I train professionals, I train lay people on this topic. Next month I will be doing trainings. I will have an emailing list if you guys want to come back to the back. I will have an emailing list that you guys can learn more one-on-one training with my webinars. And I'm launching a series called It Takes a Village. And I'm creating a sexual abuse academy right now. So I know that Palm Beach County, I haven't really seen it, but it's going to be a global academy against sexual exploitation and abuse of children. And I want to let you guys know about it so that you can gather more information and insight from this topic.
I'm also, for the people that are here, that's why I wanted you guys' email, because these are the things that I'll be emailing to you, and then I'll also have it on my site at Officially Issa on Facebook and Instagram. So everything that we talked about and all the pamphlets that we have, I'll email them again to the people that are here, and then it'll be on my site once we're done here tonight. Thank you again, Jessica. Appreciate it.
So one of the things that we did discuss earlier was kind of the direction of the city and what we're trying to do as a team. I actually want to just acknowledge one of our commissioners that just walked in, Councilman Troderick McCoy. He's here. If you guys can give him a round of applause. Thank you for supporting this initiative, and this is what we do as a team. We're working together as a unified front coming from the city, so it's a new approach and a new day here in the city. So we support one another to continue to bring out and pour out these different events for you guys in this community.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into our next topic for tonight. And yes, ma'am. Please.
I am a single mom. I have a 16-year-old daughter who is in high school. I've recently allowed her to drive, so which is very scary. So some of the things I've done is I've installed an app on her phone that's called Mama Bear. It keeps track of where she is when she gets to school. But I've also instituted a program between she and I where once she gets to school, she texts me, I'm here. When she's leaving, she says, I've left now. So if something happens, if I don't hear back from her within a certain amount of time, then I know to be alerted. Also, I don't let her drive at night. I always take her where I need to take her at night. If she's going out with friends, I have to know which friends they are, where they're going. Sometimes I even go out with them. Also, open dialogue, open communication. When she was very young, I would drive her back and forth so I had time to talk with her. But now she's driving on her own, so we only talk when we're at home. But that's very important, open communication and dialogue with your children. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. So I'm going to start, well, first off, so our next topic is depression in Black males and the rising depression that we are facing with our Black males and not enough seeking professional help with them. Before I bring my panelists out, I just want to say that I didn't want to just kind of educate people on the depression and all the things they go through, because I wanted you guys to hear from their mouths, from certain ones, and for them to then express themselves. Because when I'm in therapy with them, majority of Black males have the conception that people don't care, they're not heard, the world's against them. Then you go home and your family is against you. And it's so much daggers on their backs, and they sometimes don't feel like they have a way out because they don't have anyone to talk to. The world and society don't have that many positive influences out there. Social media is a demon, and it's only getting worse. And piggybacking off what Jessica said with our males, yes, they need to stand up. Yes, we need you. Yes, the families, dads, but you also need guidance and proper guidance. And sometimes you don't get that from home. You don't get that from, or whatever you've gotten as a child. Like I said earlier, you kind of portray that to your adult life. And sometimes it's not always the best, approach. And the best thing you can do as an adult is to right the wrongs of your parents. and change yourself for the better. Self-awareness. Know what your issues are. Know how to deal with, be straight up with yourself, if not anyone else. If you have anger issues, if you have addiction, if you have social anxiety, if you have communication issues, and it goes all the way down to just basic skills. Communication, and us ladies, we like to say that men don't communicate or they don't talk, but it's just like what she was saying, having that open dialogue, not only with your children, but with your family. And when you create that pattern, it's a positive habit that you'll create in your family and in your household. So I'm going to bring them out all at once, and then they can give a 5 to 7 minute spiel on their portion. And I'm going to start with Doug, Raymond, Clinton, Devon. I had 2 other guest speakers, but they had to leave early. So I want to give a special shout out to Devon before he sits down. He is a newly graduate from Barry University, and he got his master's in social work. Yes, so he is now a therapist as well, so I'll have his information on my site as well too, so if you need to contact someone, he is now officially a therapist. So congratulations. Yeah. So Alex, you can start with Clinton and
good night, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? I've always wanted to be able to reach out to everybody about speaking about the depression of black men in the community, especially coming from the Caribbean background. A lot of times our young black males are taught to always be strong, not to show emotions. And sometimes that confuses a lot of the young black males, because growing up, I was confused at one point in time too, during my young adolescent stage, because it becomes confusion of when to step up and say something's wrong. So when the confusion comes in a young black male of when to say something, when to step up and do something about it, sometimes it's too late. Sometimes that trigger already hit to the point of the breakdown. So I'm just wanting to come and tell everybody that it's okay and try to get more involved and also learn myself on how to cope with a lot of things, also being a father dealing with young adolescent sons. You know what I mean? Because that's when you get tested to see the strength and the endurance of your mental health and your mental health awareness based on how you could identify the things that's going on inside your children's household, whether you live with children or you don't live with your children. And one of the key things to that is communication. Today's generation, they're not like us. They're straight savages. They're straight truthful. It's just nothing but truth with them. They have no fear in expressing themselves. So with that, we need to empower them to, since you're fearless, tell us what's going on with you. So that's why I want to be part of this whole community and get more involved with it, because I feel like if we reach out and we could get to some of these leaders these young leaders in our community, it can be done. Because all it takes is for, some of you got, how many parents in here who got more than one children? And you have seen your child learn more of the other child versus their sibling versus what you're trying to tell them every day, correct? So if we reach and grab these young leaders in the communities, and instead of looking at always disciplining them and always trying to exile them out of things, we could use things like this as a disciplinary action. Hey, you know what? You got in trouble? Come out here and talk about it. Let's see why you did it. Because if you understand and ask the questions of why, then you have a better understanding. Not everybody is given the same choices and options and opportunities. So ask why, then you have understanding. If a child go and steal some food or candy, soda, whatever it is from the corner store, it ain't because they're doing it because they're trying to be bad. It's because they're starving. They're hungry. And guess what? Stealing it not only satisfies their need to take care of their hunger, it also give them a cool image to the peers around them. Oh yeah, I just stole that soda out there. I ain't paid for that. You ain't telling them that you ain't paid for that because you're hungry. You had to go steal it because you're starving, and ain't nothing at home. You know why? Because you're afraid that your peers gonna now put you down. They're gonna exile you. Can't hang with us no more. You poor. You can't even afford a soda. So that's why I said it's time to reverse that. Give back these young men and young women the power to empower each other, because they're the force right now.
Thank you for that. I want to bring out Rodney as well. He came back, so Rodney, you can go next. That's fine.
All right, how y'all doing? I'm Douglas Hawkins, here from Riviera Beach. My family, we came from Belglade. We moved to Riviera because, you know, growing up in Belglade was really difficult. It's a very poor area. People, you know, to make it out of there was like graduating high school. And a lot of us black men from there to here to West Palm on down, wherever, you know, it's tough. Like I said, he just spoke of stealing. Do you know what it is to have to steal to eat? Do you know what it is to have to take from someone else to understand who you want to become? And then it makes you feel bad because as a man, you know, your dad, a black man, I would say, your dad, your grandfather, your uncles, you gotta be tough. You know, you can't be no, excuse me, I'm gonna say the word, you can't be no punk or no P, the other P word, you know. So we gotta be a man, you know, you gotta take what you want, you gotta fight, you gotta make them respect you. And that word respect is what causes a lot of mental issues. Everybody wanted to be respected, but everybody has a different outlook on life. So I may feel a certain way, but you may not feel that way, but that doesn't make me a different person, which causes anger. We have a lot of angry black males. You know, we have a lot of young men who don't understand because when you came up in the house with no father, and then your mom had different guys come in, you seen different images of things that you didn't understand. From molestation, there's young black males who got raped, and it's hard to talk about that. Like, I'm shaking right now. It's hard to talk about a lot of things that we can't talk about because, again, like coming through school, I dropped out of school first time in the 7th grade because I was going through so much, and it's like with, you know, Issa is a great friend of mine. This is actually my therapist. I've known her for years. Wanting to be accepted, you know, when you don't have a family that you feel you can talk to, or when you get older and you can't talk to your family because they don't understand because they didn't understand then, you can't expect them to understand now. You have to get it out. I used to be very angry, and I didn't know how to talk to people. Like, I dropped out of school, I always worked. And working was my way of not dealing with life. I would work 3 jobs. I would always be tired. And when you don't sleep, you get deprived, you get delusional, you start thinking things that you can't control. And again, I'm gonna speak on something that black people are afraid to speak on. They say black people don't commit suicide. You don't know until you get there. They say black people don't do certain type of drugs. You don't know until you get there. But you have to have it out. You have to open up and be able to talk to someone. So I have some good friends, Issa, Douglas, Berman. I've went through some things. I've been married, you know, have kids. You know, I've went through a lot in my childhood. And even now growing up, just feeling accepted as a man, you know, going to jail, you know, dealing with can't get in certain jobs because you have a record. It's a lot of things that black men deal with that we can't explain. But there's people who don't understand it because if you never went through it, they judge us. You know, they say, oh, it's easy to go get a job, but they don't know when you go get a job and you're working for $8.50 and someone is treating you a certain way, it puts something in your head that you bring home with you and you take it out on the people around you. It causes a bad part of life. So we're trying to deal with all that right here in Riviera Beach because, you know, we're in Florida where we have a very low unemployment rate. And I had time to travel. I lived in a lot of different states. You know, going through what I went through, I went from house to house with my family growing up. I got to meet people who were in gangs. I met people who were homeless. I met people who never left their small city. They never even got to take a vacation, you know. And, you know, I'm very blessed. I got to see a lot going through what I go through. It's a great story, but that opened me up to now be able to talk to people because traveling to different places, I've seen different things. I learned that I'm not the only person that's going through certain things. I've met guys who I've talked to, and they told me things, and we shared things, and it's a blessing, you know. So again, this is my therapist. Since I've been able to talk to her, and like I said, I talked to Doug, I talked to Berm. You know, I got people that I learned to talk to, because when you have feelings that you can't explain, you know, you act out on them. And it, like I say, even drinking, we have a big problem. Why in the black neighborhood we have a liquor store on every corner? Understanding that is to why people deal with the problems in certain ways. It's in front of us. It's put there for us to deal with it that way, but we gotta start breaking certain things and understanding what we have to fight. You know, we have churches here, we have community centers, we have a good police department here. You gotta start opening up, finding ways to help yourself. We have programs here to help us, so let's use them and make it do whatever it needs to.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Good evening. I'm grateful that everybody's here. I'm happy to have this opportunity. I'm cold up here, by the way. So if y'all hear me trembling, I'm not nervous. I'm freezing. But without dragging on too much, I'm a guy who my name's Ramon Barber. I'm from Riviera Beach. I grew up here, played Little League, everything here from Little League, football, basketball, baseball, so on and so forth. And I'm one of those guys who grew up with just a single mom. My dad left when he was in and out, left when I was 5. So I had to figure it out. And I can tell you one thing that I'm grateful for is that I had sports. Sports was my outlet. Honestly speaking, I always tell people I don't know where I'd be if I didn't play sports. I just really don't. That opened up so many doors for me. They gave me so many outlets. It gave me so many opportunities that it's unbelievable. I honestly believe that I never would have went to college if I didn't play sports. I truly believe that, because nobody in my family did. You know what I mean? None of my male role models, cousins, uncles, nobody. I didn't know what college was, but I knew what selling dope was. I knew what having all the jewelry was. I knew what all that stuff was, having a bunch of different women, and yeah, that's what we know. That's what we're taught. So, with that being said, I have a son now, 5-year-old son now, and I make sure that I'm very, very mindful of what I exhibit in front of him. A lot of times I realize that kids are gonna listen to what you say, but most of the time they're gonna do what they see you do. And okay. Kids, most of the time, kids are gonna listen to what you say, but they're gonna do what they see you do. They're gonna mimic it, whether they know they're doing it or not. It's a natural human thing. We always want to find something in somebody that we want to be like. We always want to imitate something. So I make sure, man, to be honest with you, every single day, I wake up and I check my own inventory. I do the things, and I'm also one of the guys who went and sought out therapy. I did not understand how to handle anger, letdown, abandonment, all that stuff that we deal with as black men. I ain't know how to deal with it. So quite naturally, when I felt a loss or some pain, I'm going to after sports. I dove into alcohol. I had bouts with alcoholism. I didn't know if I was an alcoholic or not, because that runs in my family as well. I just started changing and becoming a person that I didn't know who to deal with. So I went and found a therapist myself. I ain't talking to nobody about it, because I ain't want nobody saying, "What you want to see a therapist for? You crazy. What you sitting on somebody's couch? You come sit on my couch and pay me." Man, come on, man. Like, what you gonna help me with? You know what I'm saying? So, but seriously, you know what I'm saying? Because that's really what happens. Those are the detractors in the black families in particular that people say, you can come pay me and you want to talk to somebody. But it's like, really? You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said, I just went and did it. I just wanted to be a better version of myself, and I knew I had to be honest and say I can't do it myself. And I ain't consult nobody. I just went and did it. It was the best thing I ever did. I can tell you that. I'm a better man for my son every single day now. I'm a better man for myself. I'm proud of the man that I see every single day, every single morning, every time I go to bed. And that's what it's about. Everybody in here wants to be the best version of themselves, or you wouldn't be here. And that's a promise. And you want to be good for yourself, the people that you see, the people that's supporting you, the people that's whatever doing, just being here for you. And you just want to do what you're supposed to do for yourself and continue to build, continue to progress, I always tell people every day who I encounter, you don't stay the same. You either get better or you get worse. That's the truth. You really got to understand that you got a job to do, and you got a job to do for you. And if you have kids, you got a job to do for yourself and your kids. So, and always remember, don't forget you in that equation, because some people, a lot of mental health breakdowns happen because they try to do everything for everybody else and forget themselves. And then they expect everybody to come to their rescue. When nobody does, you're standing there like, oh my God, the world hate me. But no, that's not it. You just don't love yourself enough. So you got to learn to love yourself. And that's what therapy taught me. This is what, and also I stay on my God trail. I keep myself around people who are moving forward, who are doing something to better themselves every day. Every single day, even though he don't answer the phone, I call him. I do call him though, because it's just about that energy, about that connection. You gotta have positive people in your circle, or you won't know what positive is. So you gotta seek it out. I used to seek out the negative. We always go seek out the negative. We all have turned on Love and Hip Hop once or twice. You know what I'm saying? So let's do something different. Let's do something different. Let's seek out some positive stuff. I ain't saying you gotta go to church every day of the week or 4 days out the week, but how about you get a group of people, instead of saying let's go to the club, let's say, hey man, let's go kick it at the house and let's talk about how we can raise our kids better, be better parents, be better friends, be better. Let's do some different stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, Issa, thank you for this platform, because this is different. This is what's needed. This is what's necessary. So, I ain't gonna keep going. Sorry.
Man, that was powerful, man. A lot of things that you said, it just resonated. But my name is Devin Lewis Buchanan. Very, very, very fresh, very still new to even say Masters of Social Work, MSW. That comes with a story in itself. I kind of just wanted to start with how I even got exposed to mental health. When I was growing up, I was a young kid. My uncle was diagnosed. And of course, in the black community, we don't know what a diagnosis is, but we know when somebody says, oh, he's just sick. Growing up in a Caribbean household, I was never told exactly what was going on. You know what I mean? Every time, something would happen, my uncle would be taken and he'll be hospitalized. And I remember visiting him at where it was Jerome Golden, 45th Mental Health. It's changed names so many times, it's closed down now. But I remember visiting him, like maybe 11 years old, and seeing where, like, the people he was around, and really wondering, like, I honestly thought that my uncle, this was asthma that had him hospitalized, because that's all they told us. He was like, he got asthma. So I'm like, dang, asthma do this to you? And, it wasn't until I got older and started to understand what he was actually dealing with. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he was young. He got his first psychotic episode, he was 15 years old. And, he was older than me. So at the same time, when I was growing up, he was always like someone that had strong influence on me. And when I was 17 years old, he passed away from complications of medication. And I remember it hit so hard for me, because I couldn't understand what exactly he had battled with from the time that he was 15 till he passed away at 31. And I remember going to school, having similar stories. Ramon, I had an opportunity to go to school and play college football. For me, that was my saving grace. Everything that I tried to cope with from childhood, from everything, I could cope with it on the football field. And then when that was no longer available for me, I found myself trying to cope in so many different ways, becoming a new father, still trying to figure out how do I balance between, being, a father, but also having to work, but not having something that I had, cherished for my whole life with sports. So it was definitely a transition for me. And I think every time that we find ourselves transitioning, of course, that uncomfortable feeling comes across us, and we try to hold on tight to what we once knew versus what, we're kind of branching off into another direction. But I got into the field of working in foster care, working with child welfare. And for me, it was like, for somebody who had latched on to sports and everything, I found something I could actually be passionate about. I could actually pour into people and still get, someone who, may not be in the best situation, but they could look at me and say, wow, you're somebody that actually accomplished something. So it kind of gave me a steam to kind of be around kids who, wanted to see themselves in me. And that was just something that I latched onto. And the reason that I got into mental health and actually pushing to become a therapist, I had a conversation with a young man, and he was court-ordered to have therapy. And, you know, this young man was grew up in the city, and he was told, he was like, you know, you have to do it. And one thing about therapy, you should never be forced to do therapy. That's one. But the way certain systems are set up, then that's usually, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the Department of Justice or Department of Corrections is the biggest mental health provider in the state of Florida. And that's just reality. And sometimes it takes for you to have to cross into that system in order to get services. And so when that young man was asked and, well, pretty much forced to get services, he said that he didn't want a therapist that was white, he didn't want a therapist that was a woman, and he wasn't gonna do a therapist that didn't come from his community. So I can remember walking with him and saying, like, okay, if we had a male therapist, would you talk to him? And he told me, he said, listen, if you were a therapist, I'll talk to you. And I was like, listen, dude, I'm not going back to school. It's expensive. But I understood what he meant. But for me, I felt like that wasn't something that I could even tap into. I had crossed it off my list. And 3 months later, this young man was arrested and charged with attempted murder. And it sat heavy with me once I figured out what he was asking. He was asking for help. You know, he was asking for somebody with the tools to help him. And what I told him was pretty much, I can help you to the best of what I can. And it wasn't enough. I don't hold that anymore personally, but I understood that it was a decision that I could make going forward to say, you know what, young men like this need someone to talk to. They're asking, they're crying out for help. Because I was one of those young men too. My saving grace was a football field. For a lot of kids, they don't have that. You know, they don't have that outlet to pour into. And we see that also when we become adults and we become men. The biggest thing that I'm learning now as a man, like, it's rarely I can pick up the phone and call somebody and be like, hey, man, I'm struggling over here. Rare. You know, and to be in that space and to feel like, you know, the weight of the world is on your shoulder and not being able to have somebody to connect to and call out to, I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm seeing in our community, especially amongst men. And I think there's also been a shift in that as well. One thing that I've been seeing consistently in our community is more forums for these conversations. And one is being like in the barbershop. A lot of initiatives around getting men to speak and talk in barbershops, because historically black men haven't had a place to call their own. We don't have a country club. You know what I mean? We don't have access to those things. So the biggest thing is access. You know, what do we have access to? What can we call our own? And when you see a bunch of men hanging out on the block in front of a corner store, that's theirs. They don't own the property, but that's theirs. It's been passed down to them. It's been, you know, they've seen how many people come in front of that store, how many people have gone. And so, of course, when we look at our community, we look at them like, man, look at these dudes out here all day hanging out. But what else do you have? And so when we have to think from that perspective and say, well, what do we have to offer men in this community where they can feel like they can go somewhere and actually be accepted just for being them? And so I think, you know, with some of the things that we have been able to do, these conversations that are happening, I think there's a big pull towards that. And I'm hoping that's something that continues, because I think we all play a part in that. Thank you.
All right. A minute and 45 seconds. I know Dasheen do this like twice. So we got to, I know they got to close it soon, but back to mental health. A lot of, you know, people got a lot of reasons for mental health, but I think that a lot of it is contagious. I think mental health is contagious. I feel like the wrong people are teaching the youth. You understand what I'm saying? It's a lot of dumb ideas out here, basically. And we got a lot of our young youth following those dumb ideas because who they think leaders, like Rick Ross, Jay-Z, you know, they teaching them how to deal with their problems. Oh, if you do this, I'm going to do this to your family, and a rap song. And that's what a lot of young men turn into for answers. And I think it's being taught also. So one thing we have to do with our young men is, because we're dealing with the problem at hand, we can't stop the music. But what we can do is, while we listening to it with them, bring a perspective to it. My son, I don't stop him from listening to the music because I know he's going to listen to it when he leaves. But what I do the whole time he listening to it with me, I be like, boy, you think he getting away with all that and not going to jail? You crazy. I make sure I tell him that. You know what I'm saying? And I was talking to Miss Esau the other day, and we was just trying to figure out how we can actually reach out to the real people who need help. Because a lot of times we have these events, and nobody in here shows up that's really out there causing any trouble. Anybody in here shot anybody before? Nope. Anybody in here been shot before? Who did 10, 15 years in jail for crazy crime? Nobody. Those are the ones we need here. Because those are the ones tearing up the community. And those are the ones we have to reach out to. So we got to think of ways. I told her the other day, I can't hold my shirt up and show no bullet wound when I'm talking to these people. That's why I tried to bring the other guy in. He got bullet wounds and everything going on with him. But he going to come back and speak. You know what I'm saying? We need people like that here. And we have to reach out to those. Or we'll be in here talking till our tongues turn blue. And as soon as we leave out, the knucklehead going to go commit the same crime because we not reaching out to them. Those are the ones we need here. And we need to figure out ways to pull them out. I was telling her we might need to have, parties or something. Trick them into the party or something. Make them think NBA YoungBoy gonna be there. We might need to bring NBA YoungBoy, and after the concert, part of his stipulation is to speak on peace in the community. But something has to be done, and it has to come from the ones who's out here pushing this crap. Because, stuff crazy. Social media, all us have it. But it's crazy. And our kids is looking at that, and nobody's bringing any perspective to what they're seeing. Letting them know, okay, these guys lying. Tell them something. I seen a video with Beyonce and what's the tennis player twerking on it. My daughter closed her eyes when she seen it. I said, take your hands off your eyes and look at the TV so you can see what a hoe do. And Daddy don't want you to be that. So I want you to look at everything on here. You got to show them what not to do. We show them what to do, but we don't show them what not to do, and they get so curious about the other side that they just go jump into it. So, we just need to come up with more ideas on how we're going to get the real people in here. I don't know, we got to talk to our women also, because a lot of the stuff young men do is to get the girl. If we can change their perspective on what they see in the man also, stuff will change right with it, trust me, because we're going to chase you regardless. I wouldn't care if you're in church or where you at. So we need, more of the women that's out there in it, more of the men that's really out there in it, in here. And if we can convince some of those guys, they can pass it down to these little knuckleheads. Because they'll listen to them before they listen to us. Because all us come from I ain't going to say the best background, but obviously somebody did something right. Because we in here and we ain't in trouble. So we just need to make sure we reach out to, the ones that really need it. And we need to come together as a community. It's a lot. With these people in here right now, it's enough money and power to at least host an event, a banquet. We got to push forward. We can't be talking and when we leave, we just go to bed. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go on and give it to Doug, because I'll talk to you all night, and Doug know I will. All right, but that's just what we need to do.
One of the ideas that just came to me and Issa, based on what Brother Rodney had to say, is that these events are nice. It's warm and it's satisfying for us here. We get to talk about it, kumbaya, and come together. What we're going to do with the next one is we just decided we're going to take it out to the park. So we're going to go host this next event. We're going to host it either on Cunningham Park. We'll take it to one of the parks here in the city. And we're going to do the exact same thing. Chairs, stage, theater, lighting, and allow for us to have this open conversation. People may be more comfortable because they don't want to come over to this building right next to the police station.
That's right.
So,
right.
Really, what we're going to do is...
Well, you call that right out.
We're going to announce right now that we're going to host the next one in January, at one of our local parks. And your responsibility, as Rodney said, is to bring somebody with you. We need you to go ahead and reach back and bring them there, the ones that need to be there, the ones that need that support. All right, so I think our date is January 17th? January 21st is going to be at one of the local parks. So we'll be putting advertisements out. We're going to get it as soon as we get the date locked in. Because we're changing the location, we're going to go ahead and advertise as quickly as possible. Thank you, Brother Rodney. That idea was amazing. That's what we needed, so thank you.
I want to piggyback off of something that Rodney said, and what we were discussing as well, because growing up, excuse me. No, it's me and my co. Growing up in Riviera, I grew up on J Avenue in 35th, went to Kennedy. I was raised by a single mom, raised 6 kids on her own, no help from a man, no help from a government. She had to bust her butt, 3 jobs, so she's never home. My brother's in the back. So I say that to say the passion that I have, when I got my degree and out in the field work and I was doing substance abuse, I was doing mental health for old, young, but nothing captures my passion like helping children, right? So I told myself when I started my business, I wanted to be planted back into the school that I went to for 3 years, which is John F. Kennedy Middle School. And in being in John F. Kennedy Middle School now versus the years that I've attended, what a difference. I mean, we were bad children and we've experienced everything that everyone's saying, but to the point of one of these gentlemen, kids are different now. Parenting is different now. You can't discipline your children. They take God out of church, schools. The children has so many rights. They can't, you just can't guide them properly. Like, children needs discipline. Discipline is love, and you give them 2 times more love, but they do need the discipline. But our children, they don't have it. They're fearless. They look at you, curse your mom, curse their mama out in front of you. And it just went left. And I speak on that to say, all the things that the men were talking about up here, basic needs aren't being met for these children. And then you expect them to come to school and to participate in these academics that is like the only thing that educators cares about. But to their defense, that's what they're there for. They're not there to raise your children. We have to raise our own children, and then they go to school to learn. But we have to set boundaries and guide them properly, morals, which is totally obsolete in the children idea. But I must say, I absolutely love my kids. Like, I like to call them the cream of the crop, but they are the top problematic kids in Kennedy. And before I can even get proper treatment to them, they're already being transferred to a High Ridge, or they're already being transferred to Turning Point. And we don't understand that's the beginning stages for a pipeline to prison. And we're not helping these kids by shunning them or doing anything that just kind of like not helping them because we don't understand their situation. They too, just like these young men said, like when they're speaking, I'm so looking at my children. Like they talk about the abuse that they have to deal with at home, the lack of necessary basic needs, the lack of food, the lack of clothing, the rejection that they feel from their parents, abandonment, anger, abuse, no outlet. Half my kids, they're very talented, but the parents don't have the money to put them in a football camp. Their parents don't have them to put them in baseball. Baseball is expensive. Like sports in general expensive, in addition to the parent having to take time out for themselves to, it's a part-time job to have your kids in sports, you know? And our kids don't have this. And if they don't have an outlet or an extracurricular activity, they're going to find something to do. But it's gonna be on the corner stores, like what someone said here. Or it's going to be joining a gang, you know, or it's going to be, I just got word, one of my kids are hanging out on Walmart, stealing from cars, and going back to an adult to report his gainings or whatever it is. So these are the kids that I'm dealing with, you know, but it's the same things that we were talking about just now, you know, and to Rodney's point, yeah, we somehow made it in a better space, but what about our kids that don't have those, whatever positive influence that somebody has touched you guys and led you guys the right way? I don't see the tools, the resources for these kids, you know. So I just say that to say, I am very proud of everyone tonight for opening up and just expressing what they've been through. And Dougie, I love you. I love all you guys. Thank you guys so much. If we could give them a round of applause, please. Any questions for them?
So now what we're going to do is we want to open up the dialogue. This is not just questions for them, it's questions for our therapists, open discussion, open dialogue, so you can just kind of talk about anything that we've discussed tonight.
Your program, 30 and 30, I see that as being of very good value to children like that. Because just like you said, a lot of times they're looking for a role model and they're acting out or this or that. And that program, the 30 and 30, I see that as value because sometimes they're looking for somebody to connect with. And you might be that person. So anyone that's going to be involved in that, and obviously most of our family will be, we're looking forward to, because we're looking for that one kid that's looking for somebody to bring them out of it.
Okay, thank you for that.
I actually spoke with Issa when I spoke to her kids at the school, and just went over there, and they were a lively group of kids. But they just,
to say the least,
they had a lot of energy, and they just wanted somebody to come speak to them. Because remember now, a lot of our kids, our children, all they see are their teachers and their parents. They don't see what successful individuals look like. If those individuals are all they see, that's the only role models they have. They don't see what doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs,
that look
people
like
within
them.
the community look like. Therapists, black therapists that just graduated, congratulations. But they don't see these things. So that's why I'm going to create this program for our kids here in this community. So every 30 days, I want you to just donate 30 minutes of your time, 30 every 30, just to go into the schools, every single school, and just speak to these kids. So please, before
Start
you
with
guys,
mine.
we definitely are working with JFK. One of the pipelines that we're actually trying to create is if you start at Mary McLeod Bethune as an elementary school, you are allowed to go to JFK. Once you graduate from JFK, you're automatically accepted into Suncoast, which is a top 10 school in the nation. So that's a program that's here in the community that the school district has. So that's why we're starting at Mary McLeod Bethune and JFK to make sure that those kids have that opportunity to go through that pipeline and have the optimal success within that educational program. Okay? We will have some flyers at the front for the 30, every 30. Ms. Odessa has them. And if you did not get a chance to sign in, please leave your contact information and just say that you'll volunteer. Just 30 minutes, okay? It's a lunch break, after work, before work. We would love for you just to come out to one of the schools. You have to, of course, get your background to go onto the campuses, get a background check done. The schools will actually do them for you for free, and then that will allow for us to schedule. We'll contact you and work around your schedules, okay?
Any other questions?
Is it county-wise, like, or is it just for the schools that's on in the city of Riviera Beach?
Well, the initiative just started here. So we're starting it here in Riviera Beach.
Okay.
So we're going to just be starting with the schools. There's about 7 schools here in the city. And then we're going to try to expand it. And we're going to reach out to some of the county commissioners to see if we can make it a county program as well.
All right.
I know we ain't in church, y'all, but like I say, it's enough people here today. You know, I'm about pushing the envelope forward. And I'm gonna put the pressure on each email. You know what I'm saying? If we can come together and, you know, put an event together, you know, the more people that could donate for the event or whatever, the less, you know, it'll come out of each individual pocket. Mm-hmm. And if we can just start putting the things together as a community, you know, and don't just wait on Doug to talk to the city. Let's make moves ourselves.
True story.
And that's where it started at. We can make our own moves. And then, you know, Doug, he can come in and he can help us where he can, but he can't do it all and he's not going to be able to provide everything we're going to need. So if we want to see the community better, it's going to take us individually also. And we're going to actually, you know, it probably costs us $30, $40 a piece or something, but we're going to need it. And you'll know exactly where your money going because the money that you're using, we're going to have an event and you're going to be there helping out doing that too. And I feel like if we can all just pool together you know, stuff will be easy, and we could push stuff through faster. And we don't have to wait. That's all I got to say.
Any more? Got a few questions in the back.
I wanted to ask a question in regards to receiving services for counseling. Do you take regular insurance that some of us may have with our employers? And if there are people that have Medicaid, is it something that you take? Or is there a list for people that do have Medicaid or different type of insurances where they can go to receive services?
So every insurance has a toggle in their insurance, whether it be private or Medicaid, that's under behavioral health. And behavioral health, when you call to say that you need services for that, they will cover individual counseling and group therapy under that. Depending on your insurance, it'll allot you, whether it be 6 months or a certain amount of times, but you have it in your insurance. Medicaid has it, and a lot of the private insurance has it under behavioral health. Yes, ma'am. So if you have no insurance, that's something that we're trying to work on in gaining, again, funding so that it's like a pool of money that we can allot people who don't have insurance to, she's asking without insurance, to allow people who don't have the insurance to receive counseling services who don't have the funding for it.
This is the actual second set of forums. We did a 3-month forum here in the city, and we're trying to start the conversation so that we can start raising the funding and the money and the resources to provide that program right here in the city. It's going to just start with us reaching out to the local businesses, the organizations, because the city just has a limited number of dollars to work with, so it can't provide all the funding. So, but the businesses that are here, we have 25, 30 Fortune 500 companies right here in the city. So I'm going to be leaning on them to say, listen, support our community, provide these resources, give them the opportunity to be able to see these therapists. And while we have that, if I could have all my therapists that are in the room stand up for me real quick, and just so we can do a quick introduction of everyone here. I'm gonna just go around the room real quick. If you could just kind of state your name and your degree and where you're located, and maybe a contact number as well.
My name is Shirley. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I started my private practice earlier this year. I'm in Palm Beach Gardens, and my master's is in mental health.
Do you want to give a contact information? Can you give a, like an email or?
My email is shirley@holisticladycounseling.com. So that's shirley@holisticladycounseling.com. And my email address is www.holisticladycounseling.com. Yeah. And I have some brochures and cards with me. And I accept Cigna and Optum Behavioral Health. And I also work with at a sliding scale for those who don't have insurance. Like, I can work with you. And also, what's another thing I was going to say? I think that's pretty much it.
Good evening. My name is Angel Wilson. Oh gosh, the degrees. Bachelor's of Science in Psychology, Master's of Science in Mental Health Counseling, Master's of Arts in Spiritual Guidance. I actually have wear 3 hats basically. I'm a registered intern with the state in the process of getting my license. I work as a therapist at Turning Point Mental Health Center. They're based in Plantation, but they also have an office in Gardens. And all of us therapists that work there, we see clients in the office, but we will also go to your home or meet you in the community. They accept, I think, most forms of insurance and Medicaid. I also, starting next year, I'm going to be working with IC Beyond, which focuses almost totally on the 0 to 3s. And that's actually where most of my experience is the younger kids. They work directly with Early Steps. So I've told many parents if they have suspicions that their children may have developmental delays, Early Steps is a really good place to kind of start. And then the third hat is I also have my own business where I do autism education services, workshops, seminars in the community. I'm currently doing a series with Bridges of Riviera Beach. Actually, once a month, we're doing a workshop. The next one's actually tomorrow morning on dealing with difficult behaviors. If you want to contact me about any of those, my personal business website is Spark with a K, no, C, not a K, sparkguidance.com. And I have business cards with me. You can contact me, though, if you're interested in any of those services that I mentioned, and I'll connect you straight to those different providers.
Hi, once again, I'm Jessica. I graduated from Barry University last December in clinical mental health counseling. I specialize in training trainers, world leaders, in trauma-focused therapy, how to work with the victims. I don't provide counseling services. I provide consulting services where I go into the organizations. If you have law enforcement, first responders, I train them, and I teach them how to work with the victims of sexual abuse and trafficking on child-on-child sexual abuse in parents and children. So that is me. If you ever needed a consultant to come in and train your workers, that is what I do. Thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. And you can sign your name on the email and list for the live webinars and trainings.
So my name is Devin Lewis Buchanan. Very fresh as far as in the field. So I just graduated on Saturday. Currently in the process of registering with the state, so that way I'll be able to start providing services. So I have an organization here. It's called Inspire Youth Services. It's geared around adolescents, minorities. Particularly, I work with a lot of youth in the downtown Rivera Beach area. Do have like a mentoring component to it, but now we're going to be transitioning into actually providing services. So looking forward to getting more in depth this year as I've just completed everything. So I'll be able to provide more information kind of going forward once all those things are kind of, sewed up a little bit more. But as far as my organization, we do workshops, we do trainings and things around that with youth around mental health. So introduction to mental health. We've done programs in the county, throughout the county, also about bullying prevention. We're also in some of the schools as well. So the more information I get coming forward, I'll be able to pass it along to you guys. And if you guys just want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook, it's Inspire Youths with an S.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also wanted to just kind of thank our caterer for tonight. I love to use local business and focus on local participation. So I was going to have my good friend Zoya just speak briefly about her organization as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is LaToya Perry, and I'm the owner of the Diva Cares Foundation. The Diva Cares Foundation focuses on women and families as far as domestic violence. I was a victim of domestic violence, and it created mental health issues within myself. And I did the work, got the counseling, and fought my way back to healthiness in my mind. A healthy mind.
This young lady is amazing. She's a playwright, she's a caterer, she works with me in my office, she does everything. So she's amazing, phenomenal. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you tonight.
I appreciate you.
So I want to close out with a little treat to bring Miss Carol up, wherever, Miss Carol.
And while she's coming, we just had one more question while Miss Carol's coming up.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I didn't get here as early as I would like to have, so I don't know if you all talked about anything for those children that are over 18, that since we don't have Jerome Golden and South County is so far away, they don't have insurance. What about them? What happens to them that they?
I was going to touch on the other lady who was just asking about those services. I'm going to put on my site. There's certain providers that will allot like maybe 6 months, depending on the issue, whether it's a crisis, they give them free services. But again, it's to the individual need. But there are different companies out there that it's different. So I'm going to gather all that together and I'm going to put it on my website. Okay. Miss Carol. So back to the difference in mental health and a mental disorder or illnesses. With everyone having a mental health, the best thing you can do for yourself is self-care. We go through whatever issues we're going through throughout the day in, day out, and it seems like the time can't get any longer. We fit too many things in it, and we just never, like someone said, take that time out for ourselves and taking that self-care. So Miss Carol here is a meditation coach. Go ahead, you can.
Hi, my name is Carol Baker White. Thanks, Ms. Allen, and thanks, Mr.
Lawson. I do mindfulness meditation, and 3 out of 4 Americans are not breathing properly, meaning that we're doing chest breathing instead of the belly breather, which causes stress. So what I'm going to do tonight is give you a tool. So can you stand, please? I want you to close your eyes. The left hand to the heart center, the right on the belly. And you inhale through your nostril, expand the diaphragm, full the body, and just open the mouth slightly and exhale. As if you're blowing a candle. So try again. Inhale through the nostril, expand, hold the breath 2 seconds, and open the mouth slightly and release. And continue again. Inhale through the nostril, expand through the diaphragm, fill the body, hold the breath for 2 seconds, and just open the mouth slightly and exhale. And soften the muscles, soften the tension, and just do it. Continue. And exhale, open the mouth slightly, as if you're breathing a candle. Sorry, as if you're blowing out a candle. So inhale through the nostril, expand the diaphragm, fill the body, hold the breath, and open the mouth slightly and exhale. And this is how we tap into the parasympathetic nervous system. So we have relaxation and the digestive juice flowing. And we don't go into a fight and flight mode when we start breathing through the belly breath. Because when you do the upper chest breathing, that's when you're always in the fight and flight mode. And it causes stress and anxiety. 40 million Americans have anxiety. 90% of doctors' visit is related to stress. So this is a good tool to use to calm you. You can have stress, but you don't have to be a part of it. You just do this belly breathing, and it just keeps you in a calm state of mind. Just a tool to take home, just one step. Thank you.
It's a really, really good tool if you get it in your system as something to do naturally. Like if you practice it every night, daily, practice it 3 times daily, and it becomes part of your regimen to when you become anxious or when you become angered and you need to self-regulate. Those are tools that you can use to regulate yourself in whatever situation you may be going through so that you can make better decisions for whatever instance that you're going through. I teach that to my kids all the time, and it actually worked. I have like a success story where a kid was in the cafeteria and he was about to fight, but somebody caught him breathing, and I'm like, oh, it's working. So, anywho, it works. It really does work. So, I want to thank our DJ, Reggie. Woo-hoo. All our guest speakers, our panelists, Dr. Martine, thank you again. And everyone for taking the time again to come out and being here. And like Rodney said, if we can just share the word and just make it bigger and bigger and bigger. So thank you for dealing with my coughing as well, too.
I also want to just thank Issa. Issa Allen has been amazing because she's been doing these sessions every month for us, no charge to anybody, and it's a free service. So please just follow her. She's officially She's a local therapist. She's the counselor over at JFK right here in the community. She has a website where you can follow her on social media at Officially Issa, and she's actually going to be hosting these forums for the next 3 months. We're going to do it again, like I said, at the park next month. We're going to find a local park, and we're going to be announcing it on her website and also on the city website as well.
So I wanted to say thank you for everyone for sharing your stories. Everything you said today is what I found in the research. So there are many black men dealing with what you have dealt with and what other men out here have dealt with. Whether it's a single father, men having sex with men, whether it's an intellectual male or a male who has been incarcerated, who's dealing with discrimination, trying to get a job, not able to find employment anywhere because they have a record. So everything you said here was in the research. They actually did research just to say everything you did here. So I thought that was amazing that we have real life people that were able to speak to the things that I found in research. So I want black men to know you are not alone. Another thing is black men feel healthcare providers don't care, but we do care. You are not alone. It's not weakness to go see a therapist. That's one thing that they showed in the studies. It's not weakness. So we appreciate you all and thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to leave off. There's a clip that I wanted to show tonight, but for whatever reasons, we couldn't get it on there. But I'm going to have it on my website. And I don't know if you guys know of Dr. Umar. I think it's Umar Johnson. And he was talking about those same issues where people feel like the healthcare providers just don't care and all they want to do is shove you down with medication. But he speaks on some real topics, you know. And I'm going to show the clip that I wanted to show tonight if you can just kind of look on it later. But just piggybacking off what Dr. Martin was saying.
So we're going to go ahead and close the program tonight. Like we always like to end, we want to just end with everybody coming up to take a group picture, just to show the support together. And we want to thank everybody. We're going to continue to push these initiatives and thank everyone for coming out tonight.
A suggestion to all of you. Congressman Alcee Hastings is very concerned about the plight of the black male, and I think you all should